After 4 years of fighting, the U.S. military now says the best way to get out of Iraq is to empower the very force it defeated on the way in, the Iraqi army. When they stand up, we'll stand down. That's the phrase that's always used. And to speed that process, the U.S. military is embedding teams of soldiers into Iraqi army units. Will this tactic work? To find out, we embedded with the Iraqi 2nd Infantry Division in northern Iraq. What we uncover is a view of the Iraqi army from within its own ranks, a vantage point of the war rarely seen in the Western media, and a portrait of an Iraq far from Baghdad that has until recently escaped the vicious sectarian conflict. But like the Americans were reporting on, our journey didn't begin in Iraq. It began here on a freezing February day at Fort Riley, Kansas. Not exactly the conditions these soldiers will face in the desert. That snow on the ground, not white sand, and the homes in this pretend Iraqi village are shipping containers. Even though there's no real danger in this situation, the troops are practicing skills they'll have to pass on to Iraqis when the consequences of a mistake could be deadly. Right now, it's telling what they call bad guys from good guys at a glance.
Brown is bad. Hey, did anybody shoot this one?
About every generation of my family has served in the military.
Major Craig Calvert commands this transition team of 11 soldiers who will soon be headed to Iraq.
You secured them, but you got to search them before you secure them.
He tells you up front that he's descended from a long line of warriors.
Call up Doc, tell him we got a casualty.
I've grown up knowing my family history going back to the 800 AD. We're descendants from Lord Baltimore.
It's a tradition that he's proud to uphold.
I remember being about 3 years old and knew exactly what I wanted to do. And it was join the military.
We'll go ahead and take top floor.
He pushes his team hard because he's a true believer in the importance of training the Iraqi army.
I believe in the mission of what the MITs are doing. I believe in what they're trying to accomplish.
This will be Calvert's second tour of duty in Iraq. His first was as part of the invasion force in 2003. After the initial street fighting in the capital, he was assigned to secure the Baghdad water treatment facility. Did you have much of a chance to interact with Iraqis while you were there?
Quite a bit, quite a bit. I personally like the Iraqis. They have a strong sense of family, which is what I grew up with. They have a strong sense of religion and God, which is what I also grew up with.
This drill is designed to teach troops how to conduct themselves with sensitivity for the kind of values that Craig Calvert appreciates. Ideally, it shows them how to enter a village, search for weapons, and ferret out insurgents without alienating the very hearts and minds they hope to win over. It's tricky. And it's something American troops have not managed to do very well so far in this war. Sergeant Jonathan Horsager is running the exercise. What's the lessons learned here?
To teach the Iraqi people to do the mission, so it becomes an Iraqi mission in an Iraqi town.
The Army calls it leading from behind. That's something U.S. soldiers aren't used to. General Carter Ham is the commander at Fort Riley.
Our job is to help the Iraqis have the security forces that they want, not the security forces that we want.
In order to give the Iraqis what they want, transition team members are required to undergo cultural and language training here. But it's not exactly producing regional experts.
I don't know anything about Iraqis or their culture or anything else.
Captain Dan Simmons is a member of Major Calvert's transition team. Although he's been in the Army for 5 years, he's never been to war.
Hey, you got civilian. Stop it.
I was kind of expecting it to be all over. I really had no clue that 5 years later we'd still be around.
Unlike Major Calvert, he doesn't see himself as a professional warrior.
It was a means to support my family. This was the best paying job, best benefits I've ever had.
Ready?
He doesn't know it yet, but that motivation, just supporting his family, means he has a lot in common with the Iraqi soldiers he'll be serving with.
My biggest concern's about going. Obviously, that's going to be the longest I've ever been away from my family.
Bravo team coming out.
Major Craig Calvert, on the other hand, is clear about his goal.
First concern is getting my whole team home alive.
We'll have nobody else to depend on except ourselves. You got to really trust and know that the guy next to you isn't going to shoot you.
And that raises the fundamental issue of American troops embedding with Iraqis. Soldiers fight for their comrades in arms. How will they know who among the former enemy to trust? How do you anticipate the relationship to be between you and the Iraqi soldiers who have a history of fighting the U.S. military?
You know, we might have been enemies at one time. Hopefully we'll never be enemies again.
All the skills that they've learned here, they will now take to Iraq to teach over there. Major Calvert's transition team left small town middle America and landed in small village northern Iraq, about an hour and a half south of Mosul at a base called Jag North. Meeting up with them turned out to be an 11-day odyssey for us. First, we hitch a ride on an Air Force C-17 cargo plane, land at the still dangerous Baghdad International Airport. We're ferried by Black Hawk helicopter over the city at night to what used to be called the Green Zone. Then, a total surprise. We're alone in the middle of what we hope is the international zone of what is probably the most dangerous city in the world right now. And it's as quiet and really as peaceful as can be. 9 frustrating days later, we managed to find space on a Chinook that takes us to another base called Q West. And from there, it's a Humvee convoy out to Jag North. We can't help but flash back to the IED instruction at Fort Riley. Coke cans, cell phones, sand heaps, fence rails, the bombs are so easily hidden. A dead giveaway for an IED is supposed to be overturned dirt. From the small Humvee window, it's hard to figure which dirt isn't overturned. At our destination, Captain Dan Simmons, who worried about explaining to his son that he could be performing dangerous duty, now has pretty mundane tasks to occupy his time.
I make sure that we have power, that we have water.
Simmons is considered the mayor of this base. As he gives us the tour,
This is the end of our side.
we're surprised to discover that the transition team is not really embedded with the Iraqi troops. The American side is walled off, and the warning to Iraqis is clear. Americans have a rec room with a big flat screen TV and a pool table, a shady outdoor gym, a new laundry room,
I read the book and I still don't know how to make it work.
food they're used to,
We have our own American food. We have breakfast and dinner.
satellite dishes, and a relative degree of safety.
That's beyond the reach of mortars or anything.
On the Iraqi side, not so good. Over here they lack heaters, air conditioners, generators. Captain Simmons says there's a reason for that.
There was nice beds, mattresses, frames, the whole 9 yards, and then they'd go on leave and there would be no more beds.
Most of these soldiers say they haven't been to the American side of the base.
Some because of fear, a lack of trust, or that we might commit a terrorist act.
Some just accept the gap in living conditions philosophically. It's cold at night here. There's heaters over on our side.
Their supplies are different from ours.
A new barracks is being built just across the way. It should have been completed months ago, but like so much of what is planned in Iraq, it's stalled indefinitely. Many of these soldiers are used to poor living conditions, so that doesn't bother them as much as the low pay. Because, like Captain Simmons, they join the army to support their families.
I'm a corporal. I make 638,000 Iraqi dinars a month. That's $480. I support 18 persons in my family. In 10-15 days, I have spent all my money.
So how does all this affect the primary mission? Training the Iraqi army to take the fight to the insurgency. It depends, they say, on where the insurgents are.
Soldiers are not eager to fight in Baghdad. They want to fight in their own area where they recognize the bad guys.
The key to success in getting these Iraqis to stand up may lie with this man, Colonel Rod Harouche, battalion commander and crack shot.
I've seen him tip a cigarette before.
Major Calvert and the Iraqi commander challenge each other's skills. Calvert has his M4 with a laser sight. Rod His standard AK-47 with an iron sight and a long-distance accuracy often referred to as spray and pray.
The bucket is good. Just
Close. Rod was in the Special Forces in Saddam Hussein's army. He fought in the Iran-Iraq War and in the Gulf War on the Iraqi side. But that's not where he learned to shoot.
My dad taught me how to shoot.
And like his father before him, Colonel Rod is a Sunni and also the sheikh of the local tribe, and therefore a major power broker in the region.
Tribes hold a very, very important position in this area.
Rod invites us to his farm, which is near the base. It's a way of illustrating what he fights for. His youngest son, his one and only wife, his flock of baby turkeys, his squadron of guard dogs, his herd of sheep. He hosts the transition team for lunch.
Are you going to share the soup or what?
But gracious hospitality won't defeat an insurgency. When we come back, is this the way out